The news that we got today from Linda Yaccarino, X's CEO, was very positive news for Tesla stock. Now, we have the full interview from her on CNBC today, and I'm excited to bring you that interview. Now, we're also going to talk about the economic data coming out tomorrow and how that could affect our market. So buckle up and let's get straight into it. So your economic data could be pretty important coming tomorrow. It comes out at 8:30 in the morning. It's PPI month over month for July. You're expecting 0.2%. Last month's reading was 0.1%. So anything higher than 0.2% is a problem. Anything 0.1% or lower is going to be very good news. Why I think this is a little bit more important this time around is what happened with China just yesterday. So China fell into deflationary territory. Now, the producer price index, which came out for China yesterday, which is coming out tomorrow for us, is a gauge of the prices of goods as they leave factory gates. In China, it was down 4.4% in July. Consumer price index fell 0.3% year on year in July for China. So based on the data, what we've seen in China, PPI could fall quite a bit. Now, there's obviously not going to be fears of deflation in the US for quite a while, I would imagine. But if PPI comes down a lot, that has big implications for CPI, as the producer side of inflation, typically, if that's higher or lower, leads to consumer inflation, right? Most businesses pass the cost to the consumer. So that will be very, very important, and that will come out tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning. Now, if PPI falls more than expectations into deflationary territory, that could be a very positive thing for our markets. It could help out Tesla stock by quite a bit tomorrow. And that's because it really solidifies the odds that the Fed will actually hold at the next meeting, which is in September. The probability of a pause is 89% for September. This has moved up from even yesterday before the CPI report, which this was sitting at about 85%. There was a 15% chance that the Fed would raise rates. So the closer we can get to that actual Fed pause, and then subsequently the first rate cut in March of 2024, it's on March 20th of 2024. That's the first time the markets are expecting a rate cut. Well, that's going to be huge for Tesla's business. Anything that really revolves around credit would benefit a lot the first rate cut. And subsequently, once the Fed starts to cut, they usually continue to cut. So that's going to be the first bit of data coming out tomorrow that you really need to know. On top of that, we're going to have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey. We're expecting that at 71. Now, the 5-year inflation expectation is expected to come out unchanged from last month at 3%. Your 1-year inflation expectations expected to come in at 3.3%. Last month was 3.4%. The lower, the better here. And I think we're probably in for some positive surprises coming tomorrow with the PPI, as well as the inflation expectations on the 1-year and the 5-year basis.
Welcome back to Squawk on the Street. I am Sarah Eisen, live today from X's corporate New York headquarters. Joining me exclusively in her first TV interview since taking on the new role is X Corp CEO Linda Yaccarino. Linda, thank you for having us here today.
Sarah, thank you for being here. Thank you for visiting us today. It's so exciting, and to be on Squawk on the Street is a real privilege, so thank you.
Well, we're glad to talk to you. We have a lot of questions, and I think we should start with sort of the most recent major announcement, which is the company now being called X. Why did you do this rebrand?
Well, first of all, I think we need to rewind a little bit and remind ourselves that Elon has been talking about X, the everything app, for a very long time. Even when we announced that I was joining the company to partner with Elon to transform Twitter into X, the everything app. So, you know, I also at the heart of the rebrand, X, we need to keep our minds open that it's developing into this global town square that is fueled by free expression, where the public gathers in real time. And I want to stop on that for a second, because in real time is what's most important about the vibrancy of X and how people interact with it. And now it's all in one seamless interface. So think about what's happened since the acquisition, right? Experiences and evolution into long-form video and articles. Subscribe to your favorite creators who are now earning a real living on the platform, which is so exciting. You look at video, and you look at soon you'll be able to make video chat calls without having to give your phone number to anyone on the platform. And then payments. Payments, there's been a lot of talk about that. Payments between you and a friend, between you and one of your creators.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot going on, and the rebrand represented really a liberation from Twitter, a liberation that allowed us to evolve past a legacy mindset and a thinking, and to reimagine how everyone on Spaces who's listening, everybody who's watching around the world, it's going to change how we congregate, how we entertain, how we transact, all in one platform.
But Lynn, I understand that you're trying to present something new and a bigger idea, but you're a brand person. Twitter was a strong brand. You have tens of millions of active users. Even Meta, with the name change, didn't change the name of Facebook. Some people think it's like changing J&J changing Band-Aid.
Well, I have to say, I think we could spend some time to talk about what bold ambition brings. Bold ambition that the team at X has delivers great experiences and great new products. And if you stay Twitter or you stay whatever your previous brand is, change tends to be only incremental. And you get graded by a legacy report card. And at X, we think about what's possible, not the incremental change of what can't be done. And if you think about the velocity of product changes, infrastructure improvements that have happened over the last 10 months, it kind of answers the question of why rebrand. And the exciting thing about it is the user sentiment on the platform. And it's only been 3 weeks, but the user sentiment on the platform, 3 out of 4, very successful. 3 out of 4 in our user community feel good. A lot of them feel great about the rebrand because they live with us. It's habitual. They know what we're about. They know where we're going. But what we found out was even more exciting, which was there's much more of a broader conversation going on, is what does this kind of the clear canvas allow us to do? And there's broader conversations going on about new products, about long-form video, about payments. So it's actually, we're believing in our user community and we're not limited by that legacy thinking.
You mentioned that it has always been Elon's idea, and he's been talking about this for a while, which does raise the question about your role as CEO and whether he shares control.
Mine and Elon's roles are very clear. And I want to go back to the rebrand for a second, because if anyone remembers, I know I have it saved, not everyone has it saved, when Elon announced me joining the company. And he was very specific and very clear that I was joining him to help him transition Twitter to X, the everything app. And now let's go to our roles and the clarity of that, because it's pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward. Elon focuses on product design. He leads a team of extraordinary engineers and focuses on new technology. So think about it as Elon is working on accelerating the rebrand and working on the future. And I'm responsible for the rest, running the company, from partnerships to legal to sales to finance, all the things.
And you have autonomy in doing that?
Yes, I have autonomy in doing that. I have a great partner in Elon. It's been 8 incredibly supportive weeks. And I know a lot of people ask me that question. They're incredibly curious. But our roles are very clear. And the way Elon and I talked about it before I started was that while our lanes are really clear and defined, we are brought together by the belief in what we're trying to achieve, right? So when I was talking on Spaces and started, which was our joint belief in free expression and the importance of that being a foundational core value of the company. And then, you kind of think about it simply as almost like a relay race. Elon works on the technology, dreams up what's next, passes the baton to me. I bring it to market for economic prosperity, not only for our company, but for all of our customers, like our advertising partners.
There's also a lot of hate, and there's a lot of vitriol and conspiracy theories, and those attract a lot of eyeballs too. And so if you're a brand and a business, why would you feel safe advertising?
I think that's an appropriate question. I think some of the headline comments or phrases need to be continually brought to light and debunked, and I'm glad you asked. But I want to be clear. For almost 11 years, my previous experience was at NBC Universal. And a large part of my remit was overseeing all the advertising revenue and partnerships for the company. And our number one social partner was Twitter. And Twitter was safe, and we felt comfortable always being there.
But not all brands. A lot of brands have left.
Okay, hang on. I'm going. I hear you. And I want to take that last 10 years and put it in perspective, because by all objective metrics, X is a much healthier and safer platform than it was a year ago. Since acquisitions, we have built brand safety and content moderation tools that have never existed before at this company. And we've introduced a new policy, to your specific point about hate speech, called freedom of speech, not reach. So if you're going to post something that's illegal or against the law, you're gone, zero tolerance. But more importantly, if you're going to post something that is lawful, but it's awful, you get labeled. You get labeled, you get de-amplified, which means it cannot be shared, and it is certainly demonetized. Back to your direct point about
brand
safety. So they are protected from the risk of being next to that content. And it's also why it's really important to note that once a post is labeled and it can't be shared, and the user sees that, 30% of the time, they take it down themselves. Staggeringly, they take it down. And that reducing that hateful content from being seen is one of the best examples how X is committed to encouraging healthy behavior online. And today, I can confidently sit in front of you and say that 99.9% of all posted impressions are healthy.
How do you define healthy, though? Is porn healthy? Are conspiracy theories healthy?
It goes back to my point about our success with freedom of speech, not reach. And if it is lawful, but it's awful, it's extraordinarily difficult for you to see it.
But how many millions of people follow Kanye West? Lawful but awful. And he's allowed back on. Kanye, who hasn't rejoined the platform yet, but is planning to do so, will operate within the very specific policies that we have established, that we're clear on, that everyone who's watching this or listening on Spaces can access themselves. And we have an extraordinary team of people who are overseeing, hands on keyboards, monitoring all day, every day, to make sure that 99.99% of impressions remain at that number. But we also have to remember what's at the core of free expression. You might not agree with what everyone is saying. We want to make it a healthy debate and discourse, but free expression at its core will really, really only survive when someone you don't agree with says something
you don't agree with. And what a great place we would live in if we were able to return to a healthy, constructive discourse amongst people that we don't agree with. So labeling certain people or deciding certain people are good or bad is not a universal thing, because there are some people that disagree with us and our individual opinions. That's why it's why we're doubling down on brand safety. It's why our trust and safety team is so good at what they do.